The following podcast is scheduled for one fall. Coming down the aisle, Matt, Dave, the SuperPlex Brothers! Welcome everyone to episode 19 of the following podcast is scheduled for one fall. Coming down the aisle, Matt, Dave, the SuperPlex!
That was a weird fucking glitch that just happened. We have to start over.
Okay then.
Yeah, it exploit when I hit remove file, it added like 2 more.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's why
Let's try this again.
So I started looping.
The following podcast is scheduled for one...
Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Alright, here we go.
The following podcast is scheduled for one fall. Coming down the aisle, Matt, Dave, the SuperPlex Brothers! Welcome everyone to episode 19 of the SuperPlex Brothers podcast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
And of course, it's been a while, but shit happens. We had a fuck ton of snow, personal problems, just a whole lot of shit. But we're back. And we have some stuff to talk about. You know, we were going to do a talk about the Super Bowl, but I think the game spoke for itself.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's old hat now. That's in the past. Nobody cares. Only thing closely related to that is the fact that Monday Night Raw was in Colorado this week.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about that.
Well, before we get into Raw, we do have to deliver some somber news.
Yes, Big Daddy V, Mabel, Viscera, whatever you want to know him as, he's dead.
Rest in peace. R.I.P. in peace.
Yep.
But yeah.
So yeah, Raw time.
Raw time. All right. I was home for this one.
Yes, which usually means that Raw is going to suck, but well, we'll just see how this goes. We start the show off with Cena coming out, and he's cutting a promo on the Chamber and all this, and says he's going to face Batista at WrestleMania 30, and then all of a sudden Antonio Cesaro comes out, and you guys see where this is going. All the participants of the Elimination Chamber come out to cut a promo. Believe it or not, Daniel Bryan was the last one to come out.
That's not the important part
would...
about this promo. Cena went out of his way during this part of the show to bury the shit out of Cesaro's victory over Orton on SmackDown.
Yes, if you didn't watch SmackDown last Friday, Antonio Cesaro did get a clean pin over Randy Orton. And Cena basically said, that doesn't mean you did good, that basically means that Randy sucks. So he not only buried the shit out of the champion, but he buried the shit out of Cesaro's big moment. Of course, Cena would kind of sort of make it up later in the night, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But anyway, Daniel Bryan came out last, surprisingly enough. I'm shocked that the champion didn't come out last. And he cut a promo too, and then eventually Kane came out and said that Triple H and Stephanie left the night to him, and he's going to run things. So, what happens next? Kane books some matches because he said it's unfair that Randy Orton and Sheamus are the only ones to have a match before the Chamber. He books John Cena versus Antonio Cesaro, and then he books Christian versus Daniel Bryan, which was right now. And the match starts off with what looked like a heel turn on Christian's part.
Yeah, Christian just beat the shit out of Bryan from behind and attacked him on the outside before the match even got started. So
yeah, he rammed his shoulder into the stairs, too, and looked like he hurt Bryan. He was holding the shoulder. Obviously, I know it was at work, but still.
It's just kind of like, this makes no sense.
Yeah, and commentary tried to play it off as he's not being a heel, he's just trying to be the most dangerous Christian that he can be. Of course, if he wanted to do that, he could have called the Inquisition, but...
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. Terrible pun. But so anyway, pretty solid match between the two as you would expect, but of course, to Matt's anger and rage, match ends in a roll-up.
God, that was so stupid. It's one way to shit all over a good match for me is have a stupid ending, and roll-ups are pretty high up there. Not as bad as
Now,
Big Show running out and ruining a pay-per-view match, but roll-ups are pretty up there.
now, after all of this, Kane gets on the microphone one more time and he says, "Okay, you beat Christian. Now you're wrestling me," and Kane beats the fucking shit out of him. So yeah,
Not
bunch of
sure.
unimportant shit happened throughout most of this.
I'm not exactly sure when they're pulling the trigger on the actual Bryan versus Kane match. Um,
Probably Mania. I think that's going to be the Mania match instead.
really, instead of Triple H, or we think
I
Punk's actually coming back, which that's a big thing that's been going on since the last episode. Which we did cover Punk walking out last time, but
Yeah, well, there are a lot of people saying he's going to be back before Mania. Even Austin said on Jim Ross's podcast
he said it
that,
started off as a shoot, but they're gonna turn it into a work, and that we'll see Punk
yeah,
before Mania.
yeah. Anyway, um, really one of the few other important things of note here. Roman Reigns had a match against Mark Henry after Dean Ambrose had a title defense against Mark Henry, who came back after Brock Lesnar beat the piss out of him and made him look like shit. But that match ended with a DQ when Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins attacked Mark Henry, which led to something bigger that we're going to cover a little later. However, Roman Reigns decided to face Mark Henry, and Roman Reigns won clean, and it's obvious what they're doing here, and I kind of don't like it. I mean, I like that they're building Roman Reigns, that he's going to deviate from the Shield and become his own big name, but they're also making Ambrose look like shit, and I don't like it.
Yeah, and they're just kind of doing the same thing they've always done with Rollins, pretty much. He's just trying to be, the voice of reason within the Shield.
Yeah. Now, here is the important part. After the match, the Wyatt family comes onto the Titantron and cuts a promo, and they're basically setting it. This is part of the setup for the six-man tag between the Wyatts and the Shield, which I'm really looking forward to. They have done such an excellent job hyping the shit out of this match. Last week, after Dean Ambrose beat Mark Henry, the Wyatts came out and they had a big stare-off, which led to Bray Wyatt, eventually backing down and walking to the back, because they don't want to give the fans that moment on TV. And they basically pull the same thing here. Bray Wyatt cuts a promo singing about the joy in his heart. And Roman Reigns is like, "Hey, yo, bitch faggot, get down here so I can beat the piss out of you." And Bray Wyatt's like, "Okay." and then all of a sudden, the Wyatts come out, and we basically repeat the same thing that happened last week, only this time both actually got into the ring. And I kind of complained about it last time, but now looking back, I think this is actually a good way to hype that eventual blowout, because you want to just see them finally go. And I think the best thing that they could do, and I know they're not going to do it because it's too late now, but they really should have made this like a street fight or a no DQ kind of thing, and just let them fucking brawl all over the arena.
That's because you just really want to see them do a whole year-long gang warfare program.
Oh, I want that so bad. Gang warfare in wrestling is always awesome. It's always awesome. I mean, some more than others, but gang warfare is straight up like territories writing.
They're doing good with the time they've had. I'll give them that.
Oh yeah, they've definitely doing a good job hyping it up. But I just think that with the payoff being just a regular six-man tag, I think they could do better by maybe adding some kind of dip.
Well, it's not going to get the chance to do that because it's obvious where they're going to go with these two teams post-Elimination Chamber. It's really, really obvious they're doing Cena Wyatt at Mania.
Which, I am not looking forward to that.
And I have a feeling that they're really going to pull the trigger on the Shield breaking up before Mania and having a little triple threat.
That's probably what's going to happen. Probably for the U.S. title.
Yeah, which I see Roman Reigns winning.
Speaking of mid-card titles, Jack Swagger won a number one contendership match for the Intercontinental title on SmackDown. And he came out and beat Kofi Kingston with the Patriot Lock. You know, Ooga Booga's him. You know, beat Ooga Booga. And Big E Langston came out for a handicap match right afterward against Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre, who went back to the regular trunks. I noticed. He's not wearing the long leather pants no more.
Yeah, are they just gonna dissolve 3MB like nothing ever happened? I mean,
I heard some shit that
he said there was nowhere to be found.
And not only that, but I heard that they replaced him for a small bit with fucking Kurt Hawkins.
Kurt Hawkins is still employed?
Yeah. And his gimmick right now is he dresses like AJ Styles.
Oh. Okay then, if that's
Yeah.
the route they want to go.
Kurt Hawkins, the only person on the roster who's doing worse than Zack Ryder.
And that's really ironic, considering.
I know. But Big E had this handicap match, and we got to talk about this. Zeb Coulter. Oh my God. Give this man a fucking medal. He is just making me care about this feud. He is just shit-talking Big E throughout the entire match, and it's just funny as fuck.
Yes.
Oh, he was hilarious. I forget all the little quips he said. But yeah, Big E actually responded to the troll bait.
And he just goes, you're a doo-doo head.
Yeah, you're a jerk.
I'm gonna win. I'm gonna beat
Jack
Swagger.
Some people are saying that Swagger is going to win the belt at Elimination Chamber, which might lead to the Real Americans possibly breaking up. Which, I mean, I guess if it means the two of them are going to get good singles pushes, I'm okay with this. But at the same time, I really like them as a team.
I would be very surprised. Like, let's look at the tag team division right now. You know, our favorite division from last year. We've already lost primetime players. Which we'll get to
I was going
Titus
to say
and Neil did in a minute. We're about to lose the Shield. And we're about to lose Real Americans.
Yeah, I was going to say within about a month, they've already crippled the tag division.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get rid of all those teams at once. Now, they might because LOL WWE. But I would be actually surprised if they broke up all of those groups within such a short amount of time.
Honestly, it's kind of a shame, too, because, you know, the tag team division was just so goddamn good. And if the word is true that they're going to also break up the Rhodes brothers as well.
Yeah, they're supposed to have their little WrestleMania match.
Yeah, what the fuck happened?
I don't know.
And the weird part is, Triple H was supposed to be this huge fan of tag teams. I don't know why they're breaking them up all of a sudden.
And it's one thing if they're going to introduce some new ones. But
yeah.
I doubt it. That's the problem.
Anyway.
So I guess we can go to the match that stole the show.
Yeah, match of the night easily. John Cena versus Antonio Cesaro.
We were dreading this
match. We were dreading this and thinking that Cena was going to just bury the shit out of Antonio. But no. Oh no. While Cena did win, Antonio looked strong as fuck. They made him look like $1 million.
Yes. There was a really awesome spot where Cena was going for the AA, and Cesaro landed on his feet.
And I'll tell you what, the way he landed, if he did just the wrong turn, he could have snapped his ankles.
Yeah.
There's just so many great moments in this match. Like, for example, when even Cena had some good moments. Like when he countered the giant swing into the fucking DDT.
Yeah, that was pretty sick.
That was awesome. My favorite spot, though, and this was always my favorite spot, is when Antonio actually lifts John Cena from the apron for the SuperPlex.
Oh my god.
Holy shit. Holy shit.
It looks
That takes
sick.
freakish strength.
Yeah.
Cena is a 250-pound man. He might be smaller than guys like Mark Henry and The Big Show, but don't underestimate lifting 250 pounds like that.
Yeah, and not to mention, Cena was going up to the top rope for a spot right before that, and Cesaro just uppercutted him onto the outside of the ring.
Yeah, this was by far one of Cena's best matches, and arguably, it's already another match of the year contender.
Yeah, and ironically enough, Cesaro is in it, considering he won our match of the year for 2013.
If
With Sami
anything, this
Zayn.
just cements that Cesaro can work with anybody.
Yeah, and if the dirt sheets are any indication, when apparently everyone in the back loved this match, including Vince, who
Yeah,
has been reported to not be the biggest supporter of Cesaro up until now.
yeah. The word going around was that after the match was over and Cesaro went to the backstage, he got a standing ovation.
Which I could believe.
I could believe that after almost any Cesaro match. Just standing ovation.
Yep.
In fact, I'm going to give him an ovation now. There. Anyway, there was some Randy Orton bullshit that nobody really gave a fuck about, but the only thing important here is that Batista came up and was like, I'm going to win a WrestleMania. And then Del Rio came up with, he had a neck brace on, I think.
Yeah.
And basically shit talk Batista, and Batista pushed him in front of Triple H, and Triple H, the look on Triple H's face was just too funny. He was like, dude, what the fuck? Just
what
like,
are you doing,
God.
man?
God.
He's
Anyway,
So pretty much Batista's just continuing to look like a dick, and Del Rio seems more like the face in this match.
oh, if what I'm hearing is true, that Del Rio's contract is ending soon and he's not going to resign, I hope that Del Rio just shoots like a motherfucker and breaks Batista's arms.
That would be hilarious in the
Like,
worst way
legit.
possible.
Like, legit. Like, he would still be, like, I mean, professionally, Del Rio would be a piece of shit for doing it, but, oh, I hate Batista so much. I mean, don't get me wrong, Batista sometimes makes me laugh, like, during his heel run in 2010. Like, I thought he was fucking hilarious, but being hilarious does not justify being easily one of the world's biggest douchebags.
Yeah.
Anyway, we cut to Renee Young, who is talking to Titus O'Neil, and the only reason we're even mentioning this is because Titus O'Neil and Darren Young have been booked for Elimination Chamber. Why, I don't know. It's crime time all over again.
Strap match.
Oh, if it's a strap match, I'm fucking done. I'm walking out. It's the same fucking thing, and then Titus O'Neil gets beaten and fired 4 months later.
Yep.
And Darren Young gets the JTG treatment.
And then they'll have to fire JTG because they can't have two JTGs.
I know.
But in all seriousness, though, this was actually a pretty good promo.
Yes, it was. Although I thought it was kind of funny when Titus O'Neil's voice was starting to crack when he started yelling.
Yeah, that was funny. But I think the part that pleased me about this was normally when you see a tag team break up, the guy, especially in the most recent years, the tag team breaks up and the guy who turned heel is always like generic and boring, and all the personality you had in that tag team disappears. But Titus O'Neil still had that personality with him. He was just being an asshole instead.
Frankly, Titus O'Neil was the personality of the primetime players. See, I thought their dynamic worked because they covered each other's weaknesses.
Yeah.
While Darren Young, while he was no like, oh my god, super amazing A+ ring technician, he was competent enough in the ring that he was the wrestler, while Titus O'Neil was the charismatic talker. And I thought they both covered each other's weaknesses just fine. I thought the primetime players would be great as a tag team, and honestly, should have been tag team champions at some point.
And it looked like they were going
That's
to
just
be
me.
in the fall there for a bit, but they gave it to the Rhodes Brothers instead.
I know. Which, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was fine with either way, I guess, because I think the Rhodes Brothers is easily one of the best tag teams in a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Wyatt Squash, Los Matadors, and Sin Cara. Nobody cares. There was no Shield interaction during that, so there's no reason to really discuss that any further. We also have confirmed that there is a tag team title match at the Elimination Chamber between the Usos and the Outlaws, and they had a couple of singles matches where one faced Road Dogg and the other one faced Billy Gunn. This week they faced Jey Uso, faced Billy Gunn and beat him. I think it was like a roll up, but if I'm not mistaken, it served a plot purpose, so I can't fault it too much. It wasn't just a roll up for the sake of a roll up.
No tolerance.
But anyway, I know Matt has none.
But we were talking about this while watching the Raw, but I swear to God, the New Age Outlaws are the worst heels in the business right now. The only
Oh
heel
yeah,
stuff they
the
do
New
was on
Age.
commentary.
I know they don't even cut heel promos.
Nope.
What is the most heelish thing they've done since turning heel? Trying to make Betty White shit herself.
Yeah.
That's it.
Fucking stupid.
And that backfired, and they were comedy.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
The tag match
the
is
main
not going to be
event.
important. That's what.
No, it's not. The tag division has already fallen a little bit.
Now, if they give the Usos the belt, there might be some hope. But I don't think they're going to give it to them at Chamber.
But even if the Usos get the belt at the Chamber, even if the Usos get the fucking belt at the Chamber, honestly, I don't see the tag division getting better until they get some competition.
Yeah.
You know, right now, who's really the only tag teams that are really doing anything right now as far as the actual tag team title circuit is concerned?
I'm not sure. I just saw that the kickoff is Ryback versus the Rhodes Brothers for some reason.
Yeah, I'm sure that's when we're gonna see the breakup between Rhodes and Dust. Anyway, main event time, and you can take over.
It was an Orton Sheamus match. It was boring, but that's not the important part, because that no one expected that to be a good match. Um, at the end, the Shield come out for some reason and start beating the shit out of Sheamus. And while this is going, they beat him down for a bit, and suddenly, that lights go out, and bam, the Wyatts and the Shield are finally beating the shit out of each other. But that's not where it ends, because everyone in the Elimination Chamber decides they're going to come out too. And right as everyone's like really in the ring for a good like 10 seconds or so, good night everybody, the end.
Damn.
We don't even get to see the actual brawl. Everyone gets in the ring for the brawl and they just cut. They're like, alright, well, that's enough. So, yeah, that's the end of Raw. They built up two matches at once, I guess, but still, it's like, really? That's your choice for the go home Raw? In a brawl that we don't
I
get to
know.
see? At least let us see it.
I'll tell you what though, if you were there live, that must have been the shit.
For real. I wonder how long it lasted. I know how like the reports are saying that it came down to the Chamber guys and ended with Bryan being the one in the ring by himself, guessing with the crowd to end the show. But it was a pretty actual match itself. What would you expect from an Orton Sheamus match though? I don't think those two really did anything spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
But so I guess it's time to rate Raw on our scale. Um, I think
Upper mid card easily.
I'm still gonna remain with what I said when we watched it. I'm gonna go mid card, straight down the middle. It's the best Raw I've seen since I've been home for like months. But there were a couple things I really didn't like about
Hmm.
it, so I'm just gonna leave it middle down there. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't fantastic. Cesaro Cena was main event, but not too much else really stands out as much to me, anyway.
Oh, whatever. Anyway, with that over, NXT time. We actually, I have to admit, we haven't been watching NXT as much, when we're not doing the show. Because it's just hard to find the time, really.
Luckily for us, though, nothing's really happened at all.
Yeah.
This week was the last week building up into next week's NXT Arrival on the WWE Network, and it wasn't bad. It started off with the
No,
Ascension coming out for a tag team match, and we were like, "Wow, these guys are still champions." And it was a
yeah, I
fucking
will say one thing.
squash.
Yeah, it was a squash. I will say one thing about NXT that I like, about its actual, style, is that because it doesn't focus so much on plot, you can jump in at any time and not really be lost.
Yep. I just hope they keep that formula heading once they'll be on the network every week. So, let's hope they
Yeah,
stick to that.
but yeah, Ascension versus Jobbers, and I couldn't tell what the crowd was cheering. It almost sounded like said, "Let's go Jobbers."
The crowd this week was probably the biggest negative of the show. That should be stated as well.
Yeah, notably at the very end, and we'll get to that when we get to that. But yeah, this was a 30-second squash. I noticed they changed up their finisher a little bit. It used to be a spinning heel kick and a leg sweep, but now it's a leg sweep and like a running European uppercut or something.
I'm not sure. All I know is that I'm still not really impressed with the overall finisher.
I liked it.
Well, I don't. My opinion's different from yours, and you can't criticize it. Whoop whoop.
Oh yeah. Anyway,
Internet rules.
um, hmm after that, we had the Divas match, which was Emma versus Summer Rae, match number 235, I think.
Which should be noted. Speaking of Emma, she has debuted on the main roster since we did the podcast. Like officially debuted on the main
Yes, she
roster.
has debuted on the main
And
roster,
it's the same
and
gimmick.
unfortunately, they threw her with Santino.
Yeah.
Yep,
Ugh. Ironically
they
enough,
threw her
though,
with Santino.
she is still feuding with
And
Summer Rae.
that kind of ruined her for me.
Also,
At least on the main roster, that kind of ruined her for me on the main roster.
we just got
Yeah, that's about the only positive.
we got some breaking news here.
Oh?
Vince McMahon has made WWE's first public comments on CM Punk's status with the company at today's conference call with company investors. An investor asked about Punk's status, and Vince acknowledged he's
Okay.
one of the company's biggest performers and said, he's taking a sabbatical, let's just put it that way.
Oh. Then that's not news.
It is news. They actually acknowledged it.
I mean, it's news in the fact that they acknowledged it, but I mean, everyone's like, CM Punk walked out, he quit the company. No, he didn't. He's just on medical leave.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's on
He's on
self-given medical
hype.
leave.
But even still, everyone was like, CM Punk walked out. They thought this was the next Austin thing.
Yeah, no, it's not. Which,
But
I'm not
anyway,
really surprised about that. I didn't expect it to be that.
no, and I said that from the beginning. I ain't believing anything until we get any kind of confirmation from WWE.
And we finally got, I guess, probably as good as we're gonna get when it comes to that. But
So, back to NXT. Emma wins.
in a decent match.
Yeah.
I really like Emma's finisher. I do.
That's a nice submission.
Yeah, and actually incorporates her little dance gimmick into it, which is that's just a nice thing.
That and pelvic thrusts.
Yes, which we should make a note that the cameraman is our face of the week for this match.
Well, he's not the face of the week, but he, did get a lot of nice ass shots.
But he's not personal face of the week then. There we go.
Anyway, moving on. We then
No
have
selling my.
our main event already. Our
Nope.
main event,
Nope. No, we
which
don't. You're wrong.
oh, that's right. There was an interview. There was the interview. I forgot about this, which I don't know why I did because this was some funny shit. Antonio Cesaro and Sami Zayn have an interview backstage with Renee Young, and my God, Cesaro needs to be given like a Medal of Honor.
He was fucking hilarious.
Made this fucking segment. He made that segment. If Cesaro wasn't in it, it would have just been another boring and generic interview.
Yep.
But he made that fucking segment. He kept interrupting. He started bullshitting on his phone. It got to the point where Zayn just kind of had an outburst and just started getting in his face and shit. But they couldn't hit each other. Otherwise, Zayn would lose his championship opportunities in the future, and Cesaro would have been eliminated from the chamber.
I see what you did there.
But, which you knew they weren't going to get. Yes. But, Cesaro made that segment. He was awesome. On to the main event.
Good match.
Good match. It was Adrian Neville versus Tyler Breeze. Long match, though. I mean, it took up most of the show.
Yeah, which I'm fine with. Breeze looked fucking good here, even though it was obvious Neville was getting the rub because, gotta make your number one contender look
and it was the right decision.
Yeah.
Yes, it was the right decision. They had to make Neville look good.
And there was one part that was really awesome in the match where Breeze hits like a beautiful super kick on Neville.
Like Ziggler tier.
Yeah, it was great.
But I don't think anybody should really be questioning Breeze's ability. The man was trained by Lance Storm.
That's true. I was pointing out that really good spot. That's really what I was getting at.
Yep. But after the match, Neville hit, the red arrow on Breeze and got the win. I'm still going to say this right now. Neville is by far the only person with a great special on NXT, or a great finisher.
He is.
His finisher, the red arrow, is easily the best. And it's fucking beautiful to look at each and every time.
And they even slowed it down this week in the replay to make it look even better.
But after the match, Neville is about to cut a promo, and Bo Dallas comes out looking creepy as fuck. I think I finally nailed down what Bo Dallas looks like, and I said this to you when we were watching. He looks like the fucking Happy Mask salesman from The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Yep.
He's got that same face. Although Adrian Neville is no looker himself, he looks like a fucking gargoyle.
Oh my god, stop with the shit, man.
Doesn't he, though? I mean, you could make him into a statue and just have him in, like, a gargoyle position. And it would work fine. Yes. Anyway.
Next week is the big show for them, though.
Yeah, next week is the big show. But we got to talk about this promo between Neville and Dallas, because this was a stupid promo. Neville's like, "Oi, mate, I'll give you a free shot." And Bo Dallas is like, "Okay." Gets his shit taken off like he's going to hit him, and then walks out. And nobody cared. The crowd didn't give a shit at all. They started chanting CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, which, fuck you, crowd.
We get that you're smart, but goddamn it, not every fucking segment, and definitely not.
Seriously.
Not in the main event segment.
Seriously, knock that shit off. I mean, it's one thing when Daniel Bryan's actually there, You don't got to do it every fucking time for
Yeah.
every goddamn thing. But anyway, this week's NXT, mid card.
Yeah, we decided mid card. Nothing too offensive, but I think if the tag team
Nothing
match
like
had
ground
been,
shaking.
if it had been legit tag team match at the beginning of the show, might have
Mm-hmm.
went upper mid card.
I I have to ask, why the fuck are the tag team champions still in squash matches with nobodies?
Because there's no real tag teams on NXT
I
right
mean,
now.
I mean, the last time we watched NXT was like 3 weeks ago, and they had the same match.
Yeah. I think they're waiting on Enzo to heal up, honestly.
Probably.
I think that's what they're going for.
But anyway, this Sunday is the Elimination Chamber.
I
You really
guess,
feel like going into predictions?
fuck it. Yeah, I do. This is.
We'll only do a couple predictions,
I'm doing
not
all my
every single
predictions because
match.
fuck you. I do what I want.
All right.
I'm not rushing myself, man. I'm taking my sweet time today. Our
All right.
kickoff show is the Rhodes Brothers versus Rybaxel. I think Rybaxel's going to win because the Rhodes Brothers are going to break up here.
Yeah, I see. I definitely see Ryback going over, and we see a split up.
Yep. Darren Young versus Titus O'Neil.
Darren Young's gonna win it, no question.
Darren Young's probably going to win it. I'd prefer if Titus O'Neil would win it because Titus O'Neil's actually done more to hype this match than Darren Young has. So, yeah.
Well, it's the same thing with Crime Time.
It is the same
It's
thing.
the same exact thing. In fact, Titus O'Neil has the same gimmick as Shad Gaspard.
I'm mad that my tag team partner sucked and we didn't win anything.
Yeah, I was gonna be the main event player.
Brodus Clay, huh? Where's he at?
Yeah,
House shows.
he's off in land.
Yep. New Age Outlaws versus Usos. I think the Outlaws are gonna win. I prefer an Usos win because I still cannot get behind the idea of the Outlaws being tag champions 2014.
I can't get behind it either, but it's obvious that the Outlaws are winning this. And if the Usos do get the belts, they're probably going to get them at Mania.
Yeah. So hopefully in a gimmick match. If they're having a regular match here, give them a little gimmick match or something to do. Big E versus Jack Swagger.
I honestly see Swagger taking the belt.
Yep, I think they gave Big E his little trial run with the mid card title, and I think.
And unfortunately for Big E, he did not do much.
No, I don't know if that's his fault or if that's Creative's fault, or maybe it's a mix of both.
That is Creative's fault because how many people have they thrown the Intercontinental belt on to see what they do with it, and then they never book them in anything?
Right.
And Big E, how many title defenses has he had? Like one?
He said more than that, I think.
No, most of his matches were non-title.
Are you sure? I know he faced Sandow. I remember that.
Yeah, the only two title matches he's had was against Fandango and against Sandow. I think this is like his third.
Oh. Well, either way, maybe they just don't think he's quite ready yet, even though, if they just gave him his NXT gimmick, he would be.
I think the only way that Big E is winning this is if the Shield doesn't break up and they decide to unify the belts.
Yeah. That's the only
But way. Since we mentioned the Shield, we may as well give the prediction for this match now. The Shield versus the Wyatt family. Wyatts are winning.
Wyatts are winning, yep. They're going to become... This match will signify them becoming the dominant stable in the WWE.
Yeah, and obviously they want to make the Wyatts look good going into WrestleMania. If they're going to have Bray Wyatt take on John Cena.
Which will be the end of the Wyatt family as the dominant stable in the WWE. Unfortunately.
Well, no, that's if they feed him to the Big Show.
True, which is possible. Let's just keep our fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm. But, is there any other matches of note here? Other than the Elimination Chamber itself?
Batista versus Del Rio. Batista's winning.
Batista's winning. That's no question.
Yeah. And besides that, it's Chamber time, and the Chamber's really gonna be hard to predict this year.
Um, I see Orton coming out of this with the belt.
You do?
I see him weaseling his way out. If it's gonna be versus Batista at WrestleMania, it's either going to be Cena or Orton. I don't see them giving the belt to Christian. I don't see them giving the belt to Cesaro. And I don't see him giving the belt to Bryan.
I can see them giving the belt to Bryan. And doing that rumored triple threat match instead.
I think if they were going to do a triple threat match, it would be better if Orton was the champ and Bryan wins the belt at Mania.
Well, of course, Bryan winning the belt at Mania is... maybe Bryan will lose through some bullshit, like with Kane or something. Maybe on one of the Raws leading up to WrestleMania, he has to beat Kane, and maybe he'll get put into the title match at Mania.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows, and, for once, that's actually nice to think about. Nobody knows what they're going to do.
Well, that's good and bad. It's a double-edged sword.
Well, I don't like how, for the past few years, though, the dirt sheets have somehow accurately predicted some of the Mania matches.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that.
It's kind of like, oh, man, they had to take note of that at some point. They got to try and mix things up. I mean, we're getting Wyatt Cena like they said we were going to get. But I think we'll also get Lesnar Taker, like they said we're gonna get.
I really don't want that.
You don't want Taker to get hurt, do you?
No, I don't.
But
Taker's my favorite of all time. I don't want to see Lesnar cripple him.
For real. But I don't know. We're just gonna have to wait and see how things go. Will definitely be a point of interest for next week. But that's not it for wrestling because the network its launch is impending.
Yes, it is. Monday. Next Monday.
Yeah, this coming Monday. So we're only a few days away from the network finally launching. And it's launching in the morning, Monday morning.
Yeah, my brother told me about that. I didn't know that they were doing Monday morning. I thought it was going to be after Raw.
Nope, they are doing Monday morning.
That probably works out better so that they don't have so many people doing it all at once at night.
Yeah, I think that's why they're doing it, because let's be honest here, despite the fact that the cable companies are salty about it, and the fact you have your little internet smarks who are like, I'm not gonna buy it because I don't like what they're doing with Daniel Bryan right now, but he's winning the Rumble, blah 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 blah. The network's gonna be a fucking success. And there's gonna be a shitload of people trying to register on Monday.
Speaking of cable companies being little shitheads. Speaking of cable companies being little shitheads, how about Dish Network not airing the Elimination Chamber?
Yeah, no one else has really went out and publicly said we have an issue with the network. Especially they shouldn't have an issue with the Elimination Chamber specifically because it's not even on the network. But Dish Network just goes, yeah, we're not going to air it, and
I know.
They said that we're going to look at pay-per-views from WWE on an event-to-event basis, because they've decided to go on their own and make their own network without consoling their cable company provider people. I'm like, grow the fuck up, man. Seriously, get over it.
Well, not only that, but it's even going to matter. Because you know what? Cable companies are becoming obsolete with things like Netflix and now the WWE Network. And who knows what other fucking channels are going to start doing that.
Hulu's still a thing. Hulu's still out there. Any service like Hulu, Netflix, Crunchyroll, Amazon Instant Video, shit like that. And they're just getting more and more popular.
But with that, I think it's time to get to video games.
We honestly have a lot to talk about in video games. Between first impressions, between some major news that's hit over the past few days. But I guess we're going to start off...
Some sad news, too.
Yeah, we're going to start off with... I'm gonna go ahead and say right now. I don't think yeah, I don't think I told you this either. We're gonna have a double heel of the week. We both have our um like a pick for heel of the week. Even though I do kind of I agree with yours a lot, which we're about to get into. But there's someone else in the game industry that is getting an honor of heel of the week from me. But I'll let you go first. Let's get the sad shit out of the way.
Okay, this is a really depressing story. Uh, a cop knocks on a door, and a teenager answers the door with a Wemo in his hand and gets shot.
And dies.
Yeah. I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here. I already warned Matt about this. He's just not going to say anything. He's going to let me have my say here. I'm kind of letting my politics get in on this because it's a political issue, and I believe that this is just another sign of systemic police corruption in this country. And for far too long, we've been seeing stories like this, whether it's shooting a kid or going to the wrong house and shooting a family dog or some other kind of major fuck up that results in somebody's life being lost or a family's lives being changed forever for the worse. And quite frankly, this shit has to fucking stop. And the only way that's going to stop is when we as people realize that it is morally wrong to give an entity the right of monopoly on the use of violence. And how the fuck do you open a door and see a kid with a Wiimote and your first reaction is to fucking shoot him? What kind of sick individual must you be?
You had to
And
be
you know
going into
what?
that wanting to shoot somebody. I know I said I was gonna be quiet, but that's just the truth.
When your first reaction is to shoot and then ask questions later, there is something seriously wrong. And you know what? That is how police tend to do things. Now, of course, not all cops are bad. But the problem is too many good cops are letting bad cops get away with this shit. And that shit needs to fucking change. And it pisses me the fuck off. This is a young kid who's never going to be able to do anything now. Because he's fucking dead. Because some douchebag cop shot him and instinctively thought he had a weapon instead of, oh, it's a kid with a fucking toy.
It was a woman.
Oh, it was a woman?
It was a woman.
Unfucking believable. Not that it makes a difference, but even still, what the fuck is the matter with you? That's my fucking heel of the week. I'm just fucking disgusted.
And you know, normally stories like this don't hit mainstream gaming media. But surprisingly enough, last night there was an article on Kotaku about it. I know LOL Kotaku, but still that should give this story a lot more attention than it was initially going to get. So.
Well, the only reason it's on gaming news sites is because of the fact that it had a Wiimote.
Yeah, but you know, even like the comments and the people talking about it were like, "This is disgusting."
Like they don't report the story of the cop in Chicago or not Chicago, Ohio. The cop in Ohio who shoots kittens in front of children.
No, and we're not going to get into that on here either. So.
No, but I'm just saying that's the kind of shit I see all the fuck time.
The other heel of the week goes to Ken Levine. You may know him as the creator of System Shock and BioShock. And there's a very specific reason why he is heel of the week. Well, you see, Irrational Games has been one of 2K's best studios. I mean, they provided us with BioShock and BioShock Infinite, which was a serious contender for Game of the Year last year. Well, the other day, Ken Levine just announces, I'm tired of having a big studio. I'm gonna fire everyone but 15 people and close Irrational Games for good. Fuck you, Ken Levine. You're gonna put all those people out of the job just because you're
Well,
tired of making big games. Fuck you. You could have just left the studio to
I
somebody
will say,
else.
I will say this: while he's still a piece of shit, since those people have that on their resume, I'm sure they're going to get picked up by other developers,
Yeah, what if
by
they
other
don't though?
studios.
There's only a finite amount of studios out there, and this is a big group of people getting let go at once. Not to mention you got people graduating from their game colleges trying to get into the industry as well. Now they're competing with former Irrational Games employees.
Well, BioShock is owned by 2K, right?
Yeah, Levine handed over Bioshock 2 2K.
Well, maybe 2K will pick him up. I mean, I'm only being a little. I'm trying to be optimistic here, you know, but
Regardless, this is one of the most
it's
selfish acts in the gaming industry in a long time.
it's still a dick move. The guy actually almost sounds like the same dude who made Flappy Birds.
Oh, yeah, the game got too big. I'm done. It's gone.
Yeah.
Except this is just on a much grander scale than that. And I really did have no issue with Ken Levine until he did this. He's still a great game designer and whatnot, but he's pretty much a piece of shit. And him and Cliff, whatever the fuck his last name is, should just go fuck off together and leave the industry at this point.
Mm.
It's not okay to do that. I mean, studios have survived without their original creators with them. Look at Naughty Dog. Both co-creators no longer have anything to do with the company, but they didn't just say, "Oh, you know what, we're leaving, so Naughty Dog is gone forever." They just handed the reins over to somebody else. They didn't have to be selfish and take everyone down with them. And that's why Ken Levine
Yep.
is my heel of the week.
So, is there anything else you want to talk to before we get to the big thing?
I'm looking for some. There's some minor news. It has been officially announced that Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate, which was a Vita and 3DS game released alongside Arkham Origins, is already being ported to major consoles. It's coming to the PS3, 360, Wii U, and PC on April 1st. Honestly, I think that's a bit much. They're probably trying to make a quick buck at this point because you're not really giving the handheld version a really chance to shine on its own. And now you're also giving a middle finger to those who bought the handheld version at launch or for Christmas for that matter. It was on sale at Walmart and stuff on Black Friday. So why are you gonna go ahead and release the game on console that soon? At least when Assassin's Creed did it with their Vita game Liberation, they waited like 2 years
Yeah.
before porting it over. It's like, ooh, you're probably pulling the trigger on that a bit too soon. But that's just my opinion on it. I think that's really it for. There's something else really minor, but it has been announced since the last episode that the U.S. is getting the new Slim model of the Vita, and is going to be bundled with the Vita version of Borderlands 2. So,
Nice.
I think that drops in May or March. It's either May or March. Can't remember which actual month it is. But yeah, we are getting the Slim version. We're getting it last, but we're getting it. So yay! If you
Well, at least we're getting it.
and if you haven't played Borderlands and you're looking for a new handheld system, that's a pretty good bundle to grab, if you ask me.
All right. Well, I guess we'll talk about the big shit now.
Yep, and this this is gonna be probably this is a big deal right here. Let's just.
And it's also going to be very controversial because we're in the minority.
We're in the very small minority at that.
We'll talk about the good stuff first because while what we're talking about is Nintendo Direct for this month. While there were some questionable things or things that we just personally didn't care about that weren't inherently bad, but just didn't appeal to us, because there's a couple of things like that, and I don't think that's inherently offensive.
No, if I don't care
But
about it, I don't hold it against them. But
no, but we'll talk about the good stuff first. The biggest news coming out of this was that Little Mac was confirmed for the new Smash Brothers, which I think is awesome, and he looked awesome in the game.
he has an instant KO move, man.
He looks OP as shit, but it looks like they're balancing that by having him have really shitty recovery.
Yeah. Either way, he still looks fun as shit.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to be one of the best new characters to come out of this.
Yeah.
So I look forward to that.
And
And the trailer that they made for it was pretty good too.
Yeah, starting off with something like that really had our hopes up for this show. We were like, all right, they're coming out swinging, no
Yep.
pun intended, but
The other good thing to come out of this Nintendo Direct was X gameplay footage. The new Xenoblade looking game or whatever the hell it's called.
yep.
Just showed some gameplay footage. They didn't do any special cutscenes, or they just showed pure gameplay footage, which is what I like to see. Because it's one thing when you show nothing but cutscenes and say, "Oh, get hype," which is a lot easier to hype people with cutscenes than it is to hype them with gameplay footage. But the gameplay footage of this game looked fun as fuck.
You could go from beating the shit out of a monster to going into a giant mech and continuing to beat the shit out of that monster.
Yeah, and the guy was like carrying like a fire sword, and then all of a sudden he jumps into this giant mech and starts shooting giants and shit. It was fucking awesome.
Yep. And that's,
I guess
there was one more
now,
good thing for me, at least. That was Bayonetta 2.
which was, yeah, Bayonetta 2 looked good. I guess we'll count some of this as the good stuff. Even though it doesn't personally appeal to me. But if you're a fan of the Professor Layton games, they talked about that. The new one.
Yep.
Mario Kart 8, while it looks really good, it does look good. You got to admit that.
It looks like a Mario Kart game with a nice little HD graphical upgrade.
It looks like a Mario Kart game, but it still looks pretty good, though. I personally want to get it because I like the Mario Kart games. I do. What do you want, Owen?
Oh, you went, Skype cut you off for like 10 seconds. I don't know if it just created that delay we had issues with a few days ago or not.
I don't know, but I guess I'll continue saying what I was saying.
Yeah, just go on.
I actually want to get the new Mario Kart because it still looks good to me, and I like Mario Kart games. But the big news here was that the Koopalings are going to be in the new Mario Kart game, which is cool in the sense that the Koopalings have never been playable before for anything, and it's nice that they're getting kind of a comeback. But at the same time, this isn't really anything like groundbreaking or earth-shattering like they said it was, but I'll still put it in the plus side, but kind of on the low end. Now for the shit that I'm just saying is neutral, that I don't care about. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, we've seen this game to fucking death. And I just can't. I'm happy that the game's finally coming out, so I don't have to see it anymore on the next Direct.
Yeah, I think it comes out tomorrow.
Unless they come out with fucking DLC right away. Yeah, unless they come out with DLC for it right away.
Which would just be
but
grown
anyway,
tier.
Yeah. But anyway, another thing that I'm also putting in the neutral territory, Yoshi's New Island. We've seen a lot of it. I have no problem with that. Oh, one thing I forgot to add to the plus, but if you're not a fan of Kirby, then it doesn't appeal to you. Then whatever. There was also
The only thing we saw for Yoshi's New Island was the fact that it has its own version of the white Tanuki suit in it.
Which, to me, that's not a big deal because it's optional. But Some people don't like that.
I'm one of them.
You know, filthy casuals. Some people don't like that filthy casuals can get a helping hand.
No,
But
fuck them.
to me, but to me, if it's voluntary, I really don't give a fuck. So I'm putting that in the neutral. Now it's time to get to the bad, and the bad is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with the least offensive of the two. There's this new submarine game coming out.
Fast paced.
Oh God, Iwata was like, "This game is going to be super fast paced," and it looks slower than shit.
It was funny though, because as he was saying, this is very fast paced action with submarines on the go. You can just see how these submarines are crawling along the sea floor.
Yeah, it looked slow.
Painfully slow, like boring as shit slow.
Now, a lot of people, for some reason, there's this quote unquote controversy that people were like, "Oh, this is gonna be free. They're going into that horrible free to play territory where they just nickel and dime you to death for all the best stuff." No, they clearly stated that there's going to be a free version and a premium version, which is basically like there's going to be a demo, and
Yeah.
that is totally different. And while I don't care about this game at all, and I think it looks like shit, I have to at least defend Nintendo on that point. It's not the free-to-play route. You want to talk about the free-to-play route? Let's talk about that shitty fucking rusty baseball game.
Oh, fuck this game.
Okay. We have to talk about something here. Nintendo is currently not doing well.
Nope. During our 2 week
The Wii
break,
U is not selling.
during our 2 week break, they had one of the little financial meetings and shit, and we heard about how they're doing god awful.
They openly admitted that the Wii U is not doing well. They actually lowered their own sales projections down like 75% or something like that.
And they still didn't meet them.
Yeah, and they still didn't meet them. And people are saying, well, it's not Nintendo's fault. Bullshit. Fuck passing the buck. It's your system. If it doesn't sell, that's on you. You aren't doing enough to make it sell.
Yeah, and
And
people tried to directly blame EA and Ubisoft because they dropped support for the console. I'm pretty
you know
sure.
what?
That's not even their. Yeah, you can give EA shit for being like the quote unquote, the worst game development, studio, publisher, whatever. But if I was running EA and I saw how poorly the Wii U was doing, I also would probably drop support for the console.
Yeah, honestly,
It's a business decision.
the fact remains, if people don't want to develop shit on your console, that's still your fault.
Yeah.
Why don't they want to develop on your system? What are you doing wrong? The fact that the Wii U is a pain in the ass to develop for means it's going to cost them money that they don't want to gamble and then end up not making back anything.
Especially when you consider the fact that now you have two other consoles in the market that are twice as powerful as yours and that are selling probably 10 times more than yours is. Which do you think they're going to want to develop for? The PS4, which has now sold 5.3 million units, or the Wii U, which has barely sold, 2.9 in 2 years?
Yeah, and you got to look at that too. The PS4 has been out since what, November?
November, yeah.
And they're already $3 million more, or 3 million units more sold than the Wii U, which has been out for 2 years.
That's a really bad fucking sign.
Yeah. I mean, it's basic math. Basic math says, no, it's not a good idea to develop on this system. And the reason why we bring this up is because Nintendo really needed to hit home and get consumers to think, I need to buy a Wii U.
They still didn't do that.
And they didn't do that. And the reason, and this is a 3DS game. Why are you still pimping the 3DS? The 3DS is doing fine. What Nintendo needs right now is a direct entirely devoted to selling the Wii U. These are games that are coming out for the Wii U. These are projects that other developers are working on. These are projects that we're working on. This is specifically about the Wii U. That is what they need right now. Let the 3DS fly. It's doing fine. It's easily the best portable games market right now.
Yeah.
Let that shit sell itself. The Wii U needs help. It needs life support.
Shit, it's already on life support. They're just not giving it enough to really sustain life support.
Now, I'm sure that once games like Smash Brothers comes out and all that shit, we're going to see some sales. We're definitely going to see the sales rise. But they really need to do more to promote the Wii U. And don't get me wrong, there are some things that I am interested in. But as much as I hate to say this, Nintendo, you can't keep relying on nostalgia. You can't keep relying on it. I mean, Donkey Kong is cool, Yoshi's cool, but you need some new shit.
The game
and this
industry
fucking
has
baseball
changed.
game, and this fucking baseball game is not it.
No.
This is not what you need right now. You need some fucking new IPs that are actually going to sell.
Yep.
You need some new IPs that are actually going to sell. Not this fucking shitty baseball game, which I'm going to say right now is one of the dumbest fucking business ideas ever that I've seen. The business model for this game is retarded. I mean, let's get into this for a minute. You basically start off with what's essentially a demo. You get one game, you basically get one mini game, which is like a home run derby, and you have to beat it in order to even be allowed to purchase the other parts to this game.
Which are $4 a pop.
$4 a pop, unless you manage to haggle with the game's AI.
And unless you can haggle it down to free.
What the fuck is that?
Which we're pretty sure you can't. It's fucking retarded.
Yeah, and they said it, and they said that the actual prices translate to real money.
Yeah. Like you'd probably be redirected to the eShop, and it'll be like, hey, you can spend $4.99 to get the real-time minigame that lets you feel like you're actually catching the ball.
On a 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Go home,
that's all I'm going to say about
you're drunk.
No. Yeah. There's a reason why you're taking a fucking pay cut.
Yeah.
So anyway...
People that are impressed with this, big YouTubers are impressed with this, saying, this Nintendo Direct was awesome! No.
Yeah, people were saying that this was a good Nintendo Direct. Of course, they were all fucking skipping this baseball game. Nobody fucking mentioned it.
And people try to pass it off as, it's ignorable. Why is it ignorable? Why are you basically saying that, oh yeah, it's okay for Nintendo to do that? It's not.
Basically, all you're saying is skip the shit you don't care about, and then praise what's left as the greatest thing ever. And then just say the whole thing was great.
But if Sony or Microsoft did this instead of Nintendo, that would be all they would talk about. Let's be honest here.
We know that's all they would talk about.
And I hate to throw this around, and Dave, you know I hate that you hate when I throw it around, but the Nintendo fanboyism was really strong after this Nintendo Direct.
You know what? I'm not even going to deny it. This is almost like conspiracy theorist level of denial.
Yeah.
It's insane. How can anybody think this is a good idea? And don't get me wrong, there are some stuff on there that was good, and there is stuff on there that, doesn't entirely appeal to me, but appeals to a lot of people. But the stuff that was bad was really fucking bad. And that's not even getting into everything. There is some stuff that's just kind of skippable and is just bullshit that I couldn't care less about, like NES Remix 2, which I think is silly that it's already coming out so soon.
I also think the whole concept of that is also pretty ridiculous.
I mean, I could understand if it was free as a demo to, hey, we have these games, why don't you buy them?
Yeah, but now you're like, hey, buy these games because we added one little thing to it that's going to change how you play the whole game for good, but now you're going to have to buy all these games over again, which I'm sure as a Nintendo fan you probably already own. Or even better yet, these are games that on a normal basis you can emulate, which will bring us to something else that we forgot to mention, was the fact...
Before we get into that, I do want to talk about NES Remix 2 for a minute because they're like, oh, what's the appeal of this one? You get the full game of Super Mario Brothers, but it's backwards and you play as Luigi. Woo?
Yay? Let's see. Hey, let's see where this goes, guys. It's gonna be fun, right?
They do realize that New Luigi U bombed, right?
Yeah.
And most people were saying it was shit.
Mm-hmm. It was a glorified
some people were saying
DLC that got for some reason, even though it was also DLC, but it probably did not deserve a full retail release.
No, but honestly, it does not appeal to me. Couldn't care less. Now, I guess we may as well talk about this too. They're like, oh, the Wii U's finally going to emulate Game Boy Advance games.
Okay, who gives a fuck?
You know what? I'm going to say this right now. While I like the Virtual Console, I have to admit, is there really an appeal to this?
To some people, for some reason, there is. They're like, this is awesome! I can play Game Boy Advance games on my TV!
I mean, if you absolutely refuse to emulate, this is probably like your fucking dream come true. Because I'll admit, the Game Boy Advance has easily one of the best libraries ever.
It does.
But
it's also available for free on computers through emulation.
Well, that's the thing, though. If you're like me and you don't give a shit and you just want to play the games.
Now, this rumored DS Virtual Console will be a lot more interesting to people, I think, because it's hard. Now, while it is possible to emulate DS games, it's not as easy to do, and the emulators kind of suck.
The Game Boy Advance emulation is one of the easiest things to emulate at all. But honestly, the only way I would find this appealing is if Nintendo released games on this Virtual Console that you can't get in America naturally. Like, say, Mother 3, even though I don't care for Mother 3 that much. If they were like, oh, we're adding Mother 3 translated, that would be a reason to get excited about this.
Yep. But everything they've showed so far is stuff we have.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool to be able to play, like, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga on there, but Yoshi's Island? Really? Now, let me say why this makes no fucking sense. They're literally throwing 2 ports of the same game on the Virtual Console.
But one's new.
Why the fuck would you buy the Game Boy Advance version on the Virtual Console when you could play the Super Nintendo version on the Virtual Console?
And there's also a new one about to come out on the 3DS.
Well, the new one, it's its own game. I'm talking Yoshi's Island on the Game Boy Advance is literally the same game as the one on the Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah, that's right. Shit.
It's the same fucking... It's a port. It's not a new game. It's a port. The only thing different about the GBA version is I think it has some levels that the other one doesn't have. A couple of extra levels. But other than that, it's the same fucking game.
That's stupid as fuck.
Yeah, I mean... For real. But hey, if you don't like to emulate games on your computer, then I guess this might be something for you. But it's not for me, and I just don't care.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, just, we really did not like this Nintendo Direct that much. Nintendo's still fucking up. And if Nintendo continues to do this, even though the fanboys and shit, they don't want to admit to it, Nintendo could easily end up in the same position as Sega.
I'll admit that maybe we're being a little harsh, but at the time,
3 years
with the way Nintendo's,
straight
but with the way But with the way Nintendo's doing, we have to be.
3 years
This
straight
shit,
of losses is not good.
this is unacceptable. Nintendo needs to step their fucking game up. And I don't want to hear no bullshit about, oh, well, they need to stop apologizing for shit that's not their own fault. Fuck you. They need to apologize and they need to work harder.
Yep.
The fact that the new Mario game is not selling like it's supposed to.
That's a Mario game.
Yeah.
An actual legit new 3D Mario game isn't selling? That's really bad news.
Yeah. And Mario games used to sell consoles like nothing.
Yeah, fuck Mario Galaxy, man.
And trust me, Matt knows this more than anybody, how big of a Mario fan I am.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest Mario fan he knows.
It is true.
I am fucking saddened at the state that Nintendo is in. I am legitimately saddened that the gaming company that practically raised me as a child is in such a sad state. And no, it's nobody else's fault but their own. Nintendo, you need to work harder. You need to start breaking a little boundaries. That's what you need. You need to come up with something new and fresh. That's what you were good at. You were good at doing stuff. You were good at doing shit that nobody else was doing.
Mm-hmm.
No more of these bullshit fucking motion control games and shovelware. Fucking sack that Rusty's baseball game. You need to start doing better. That's all I really can say about this. This Nintendo Direct probably would have been better if they had more important shit, I guess, to talk about. But they didn't. Most of it was most of this was either stuff that they've been talking about for months and months and months and months and months. Donkey Kong Tropical Breeze, Yoshi's in the Wild, or stuff that just does not leave that big of an impact.
That entire US 3DS section.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think that's enough about Nintendo and that awful Nintendo Direct because
Honestly, is there anything else to talk about for video games?
yes, there's a lot to talk about in video games, dude.
Oh fuck! What else is there to talk about?
There's all of our first impressions and shit and reviews. I've got a lot of those ready. I've got a shitload of those ready.
Go ahead.
Well, we can let you go first because you had a bit of drama with your PlayStation during our break.
Oh yeah, during the break, my PS3 finally shit out, and I got it replaced. I got a nice PS3 Slim, 320 gig, which was the biggest one they had. Cost me about $240 with a warranty.
And the only thing you really lost, thanks to some internet research, was save files.
Yep.
We weren't able to deactivate our accounts on the systems.
Which I have to thank you for figuring that out.
Well, it was kind of, I was thinking that, by 2014, surely they have like some fail-safe for that. For the accounts. It'd be more ridiculous if they didn't. But you also finally got to play a game. You've really gotten into a game anyway. That you've been wanting to play for a year pretty much. It's been out for a year now. Fist of North Star Ken's Rage 2.
Yes, and I'm over halfway through the game. I like it, but it's not without its flaws. Though admittedly, most of those flaws are typical Koei flaws. Mostly things with spawn rates, and just little bullshit tactics that basically lower your score that aren't your fault. Like for example, there are a couple of this mission appears a lot all the time, but it's like kill so many enemies to get through under a certain time limit. Kill as many as you can under a certain time limit. And after you kill about 20 enemies, you have to wait for the next enemies to spawn. And sometimes they don't spawn right away. So you have to run around like a fucking chicken with its head cut off until they do. And while it doesn't take too long, it takes a couple of seconds. That's still a couple of seconds you miss out on to get a higher score. And that can cost you.
And the game will not hesitate to punish you for it.
Yes, the game also does not hesitate to punish you for exploring. Which is weird, because the first game promoted the shit out of exploration. I've noticed, too, that Ken's Rage 2 is also way more linear than Ken's Rage 1. Ken's Rage 1 had, like, big open maps. Whereas Ken's Rage 2, it's very much like you're just going in a straight path. Other than that, though, it's pretty much what I expected. I was kind of thrown off with the jump being taken away. But other than that, I really don't have a problem with the combat. It's definitely closer to Pirate Warriors than it was to Ken's Rage 1.
Which is definitely not a bad thing, because fuck yeah, combos.
No, it's not inherently a bad thing, no. I love the fact that they finally added a dodge feature. And the dodge is so useful.
It is.
If you know how to use it, you are unbeatable. I beat Rao on the first fucking try with it.
Nice.
Whereas in the first game, Rao was damn near impossible. But other than that, the only real major complaint I have is the scroll system.
Ugh.
Ugh. The scroll system is awful. The Meridian chart was so much better in the first game. Because all that was get experience and you can unlock shit.
Yep.
But honestly, other than that, I can't really complain. I like the fact that more characters were added.
A lot more characters were added.
It's definitely a lot more faithful to the source material. Not entirely. There are a couple of points that I've noticed that are not 100% faithful, but yeah, you know, you can give it a pass. Like for example, the part I'm currently at. I'm at the Falco arc, and there's just a couple of story elements that they switched around for whatever reason. Like, you remember the part where the village elder where Mamiya got killed?
Mm-hmm.
In the original source material, it was Solia, the purple guy, who killed him. And that's why Ken fought him in the first place.
Oh.
But in the game, they made it Falco. Not that it really matters, but it is what it is. But yeah, it's a pretty solid title. I am going to give it an upper mid card, but I'm only going to have that apply to me because I like Koei games. If you don't like Koei games, about a mid card.
I would say probably one of the best parts about Ken's Rage 2, which I wish they would do with future installments in their anime Muso games, such as One Piece, Pirate Warriors 3, if that ever gets made, which I'm sure it will. The overall story presentation is so much better than Ken's Rage 1 and both Pirate Warrior games.
Yeah. Well, and they actually had more closer to cutscenes than... I like the comic book style, too.
Yeah, that's a really nice touch.
Then
the actual like CGI cutscenes are fucking gorgeous.
Yes, they are. Also, one thing I really like about Ken's Rage 2, the music. Oh my god, the music in that game is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Koei's stuff is usually really good, but Ken's Rage 2 is like a pinnacle. Easily some of their best work. The Kaio theme is great. The theme that plays when you first start the second half. Just the Devil Rebirth boss theme. Oh, awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. But that's pretty much all I have to say about Ken's Rage 2.
Alright, have you played anything else, or am I about to talk about like 4 games as fast as I possibly can?
No, talk about them as fast as you can.
Okay, I guess I'll go from the worst to the best. I think that sounds pretty fair. So, this is going to be kind of painful for me to talk about, because last week, was a pretty big week for me. It was my first game pickup week of 2014, like brand new retail releases, and I picked up 2 games. I picked up Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13, and I picked up One Piece Romance Dawn. And I'm gonna talk about One Piece first because this is without a doubt the worst One Piece game ever to be made.
Oof.
This game is fucking terrible. You would think that the pitch of a One Piece RPG would be pretty damn great, right? You know, One Piece is a pretty big world, colorful world, lots of characters, lots of things you could do.
Shit, it worked for DBZ.
Yeah.
Attack
Well,
of the Saiyans was pretty good.
what they do here is they drop you as Luffy. They start you at the very beginning of the story with actually not really because they exclude Alvida. They mention her, but you don't get to fight her or anything. So they drop you at Captain Morgan, and from the get-go, I notice a really big problem. The maps are awful. They are all extremely linear, especially if you're in like a marine base or any like town or anything. It's just glorified hallways.
The never-ending hallway.
Yeah, it makes Final Fantasy 13 look pretty tame. But it's really bad when you get to islands. Like there's a lot of filler islands where they want you to get grind on and shit, called tropical islands, and they're just like loop pathways with trees around them, and you don't get to explore because you're just on a path the entire time. You're on a path. Well, I go to not Alabasta, but Jum Island, and guess what? It's the same map with snow on the trees and on the ground. I go to Alabasta, it's the same thing, but with sand and no trees.
Jesus
I go to
Christ.
Arlong Park. It's a copy and paste of a tropical map on Arlong Park. It's horrendous.
Well, is the battle system at least good?
The battle system is the saving grace for the game because it's fun but repetitive, like every RPG. However, if you don't level up your characters fast enough, this can get painfully repetitive because you learn about a new move every 6 to 7 levels. And grinding can take a while because you have to defeat the map before enemies will respawn. You can't just grind on enemies endlessly. And the combat system basically you run up and it's turn-based. But you can, if you level up your characters enough anyway, customize your combos. And then of course you got special moves like Luffy has Gum Gum Pistol is the one it gives you. And so far I've only unlocked up to Gum Gum Axe. I don't even have Gum Gum Gatling or anything. And that's a move introduced back in the Kuro arc. And that's one of Luffy's signature moves.
Now, I know there's something else you told me about. Apparently, Luffy looks soulless as fuck throughout the entire game.
Yes, he just has a fucking smile on his face. A big smile the entire time. Unless you're in a cutscene. That's it. And then the cutscenes, okay, you'll get a still from the original anime behind it, like a background or something going on. Maybe you might see like when Mihawk cut Zoro or whatever. So that's a little anime cell in the background. And then there are tiny portraits of the characters redrawn. They look really nice, like from the current anime. But all the dialogue is in speech bubbles, and that obviously would restrict what you could have the characters say, as well as it would create translation issues where you'd probably have to kind of paraphrase what's actually going on, and that takes away from the experience a lot. The best part about the story mode, though, is that every now and then you will encounter brand new animated scenes, and they look amazing. But that's not enough to make the game good.
Overall score?
Oh, jobber.
Really? That low? I know you were talking about it. You were talking to me about this over Skype, but you said you were gonna make it a lower mid card just because of the combat system. But no, it wasn't.
I reevaluated my decision on that, and as much as I do like the combat, an RPG can't be good just because of combat.
Yeah.
So, jobber rating for One Piece Romance Dawn. And that brings me to the next game I played, which is Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13.
I'll let you take that away. I don't know anything about Final Fantasy 13, so I can't really say anything here.
Well, I like Final Fantasy 13. I like 13, so I mean, it wasn't like my favorite Final Fantasy of all time or anything. But I thought it was good for what it was. Same for 13 too. So I haven't been too offended by the 13 line. So I'm like, Lightning Returns looks like pretty some fun times. I think I'll pick that up. I read the reviews and a lot of them said combat was great. Blah blah blah. Story was which I expected an story at this point. But the reviews undersold how annoying this game is. This is a RPG where there is no XP level up system,
Really?
and side quests are mandatory.
What?
If you want to beat Lightning Returns, you have to complete at least, I think they said, between 50 to 70 side quests. That's
Ew.
not even the worst part about the side quests.
Ew.
80% of the side quests I have encountered are, I lost this item, go get it for me. They're fetch quests.
Oh.
But it gets worse. Last night I was recording a part of Lightning Returns, and I think that's actually out today. I had a mission where I had to go around town and look at 13 clocks.
What?
Yeah, 15 minutes of me running around the city looking at clocks.
That's stupid and pointless.
If there's anything Lightning Returns has done, it has pushed me to something I was hoping I would never have to do. I bought a strategy guide for this game. I have never bought a strategy guide for anything before. Now, I have looked up some things on the internet and whatnot, and I was trying to look up things for this game too, but the fact is, it's so new that people are still playing it, and I'm doing a playthrough, so I can't just wait on everyone else in the world to beat it.
Yeah, that sounds repulsive. Not gonna lie. I mean, I've never played Final Fantasy 13. I've heard how split the fan base is on the game. A lot of people really hate it. A lot of people really like it. I know for example Jesse Cox, who's a pretty big YouTuber. He actually rage quit the game because he said he thought it was terrible.
I considered rage quitting the game, but I've decided that I've come this far in the Final Fantasy 13, I am going to see it through.
So, would you say this is the worst one in that trilogy?
Yes, and I will stand by my original opinion that 2 is the best of the trilogy as well.
Oof.
But this game, it does shine in its combat. The combat is a modified system from 13 and 13.2, but it's just really fun here. Basically, what you get to do is you can change Lightning's outfit, and each outfit has its own special abilities and buffs and debuffs and power levels, and you can assign different attacks to different outfits so they're suited more to what that outfit's meant to do. And it kind of changes up character design, and that's always a nice little thing to do, because Lightning's the most boring character in video game history, so it's always nice to try and give her some personality, where you give her you give like a fake mustache and shit, like to make her look stupid as hell. It's pretty great in that aspect. And the main story quests really aren't that bad. They're interesting because this game takes place 500 years after the end of 13.2. And because of the events of 13.2, time has ceased to flow. Time and space no longer exist. And that has driven some of your former allies, has driven them into madness.
Okay then.
And just overall despair, because the only way you can die is by natural causes, like getting killed or a disease. You can't actually die, you don't age. Kids who were kids at the end of 13.2 are still kids, and they still act like kids, unaware of what's been going on around them. Still, they have that innocence to them. even though they've been kids for 500
Hmm.
years. And
That's something.
interestingly enough, what you're doing, the whole point of this game, is Lightning has been handpicked by God, Bunavelza, to save the souls of as many people as she can as he destroys that world and creates a new one.
Oh.
And this game did
So
come under fire by the Christian community,
it's
naturally.
Noah's Ark.
Sort of, but not really. And this is spoilers,
Yeah.
but fuck it. The game has been out since like September in Japan, so spoiler alert right now. Just skip ahead a few minutes because this won't take long to talk about. In this game, you kill God. You turn on him and kill him.
Interesting.
Yeah. So apparently it's a really cool boss fight. So I am looking forward to killing God. That's gonna be fun. But
Better not say it too loud where you live.
I know, but it's gonna be fun. It's not actually God. It's a God of Light, Bunavelza. I mean, come on. But they refer to him as God, not Bunavelza most of the time.
So overall opinion, like overall score?
First impressions lead me to say lower mid card. If this game doesn't get more interesting and more fast paced, it'll probably fall to Jobber as well. But right now, it's barely hanging on a lower mid card. Barely. And last, but certainly not least, for me, at least I'm pretty sure this is the last one. On Valentine's Day, Naughty Dog released their first ever story-based DLC. And it was for The Last of Us, and it was called Left Behind. And it is a prequel story that takes place with Ellie before the main game happens. And it's a story that is alluded to a few times in the game, especially at the end of the campaign, which is why they tell you do not play this DLC until you have beaten the game. It tells the story of Ellie and her friend Riley and their relationship and everything between them that led to them getting bitten by the infected. And this game has made major gaming media attention. It's gotten a lot of attention because there's a scene, spoiler alert, Dave, if you ever play it, but by the time you probably play it, it'll be long after it matters anymore.
Yep.
There's a scene where Ellie and Riley kiss.
Okay.
And that's actually a pretty major step for the game industry because normally you don't really get a lot of homosexual stories. It's the truth.
Yeah.
And this made a lot of people happy. I thought it was a good thing. I didn't have any issue with it. And of course you have people who are downright furious at the thought that Ellie could be bisexual or lesbian. And it's like, why does it matter?
Goddamn Cuermo's ruining my gaming industry. I'll kill them in the name of God.
That's what it almost feels like. But you know what? Fuck that shit, because I think it's great and it worked with the story. If you play the DLC, I say this a lot in my playthrough, which is completely live on my YouTube channel. From near the beginning of the game, I take note. I'm like, I'm getting lesbian vibes from this. It's not like it comes out of nowhere and hits you. Like, they make it pretty obvious in the way the characters interact with each other that yeah, there's feelings there. And people were just stupid enough to not realize that. But if I had to grade this DLC, I'm gonna give it main event. It was fucking awesome. I loved it. It saved my last week of gaming for me, because we had that snowstorm last week, and I was stuck at home, so all I had were One Piece and Lightning Returns to work on. But
Interesting.
I think that is it for my first impressions / review of Left Behind. So I guess the last thing to talk about really fast is our YouTube channels.
I'll just be quick about this because not much has changed. Mega Man 3 is going as fast as I can get it out. Because of all this crazy weather, shoveling snow comes first. And that shit drains you. I mean, I don't know if you noticed that because you got a little bit of snow too.
A little bit? Not
but when you shovel snow all the fucking...
some.
Yeah, well, not as much as me, but, when you shovel all fucking day, you don't want to do anything. When you're trapped inside a fucking house because of snow, you don't want to do anything. So I have to bring myself to basically do this shit. And I've said this for years, but I never want to release content when I don't feel like doing it, because that means you're going to get a crappier quality production. That's just a fact. Because if I'm not into it, then you're not going to be into it.
Yep.
But some other news, quick news. I did get a Sega Master System emulator that actually records in good quality too. I uploaded a video test and I showed it to Matt, and it was nice quality. And I want to experiment with that a little bit. But that's not for a while. I might do something with that. I have to say right now, the Ditto Lock is canceled. I uploaded a test a couple weeks ago. I know. I uploaded a test a couple weeks ago, and Nintendo snagged that shit right away. So I don't want to fucking deal with that shit. Maybe I'll do screenshot style on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
But which I'd have to basically start all over because I was already partway through recording it. So, but for now, the Ditto Lock is canceled. I'm gonna try and find something to replace it. Maybe something with the Sega Master System. But
Gasp.
Yeah. What?
I said gasp.
Oh,
Could be interesting.
but couple games I'm actually looking into. Maybe the original Phantasy Star, or there's also actually a Golden Axe game on there that's kind of like the original Legend of Zelda that I'm thinking of.
And the Fist of the North Star game.
Yes, Black Belt / Hokuto no Ken. I actually do want to do a series on those two games because despite the fact that they're essentially the same game, they're also drastically different. And I showed you that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to cover both of them. And I probably will in the future. I have been playing them both a lot lately and trying to master the game too. So that's definitely something that's coming in the future at some point or another.
So get hype, bitches.
But other than that, and especially since I'm a fan of Fist of the North Star, the history that you guys are going to learn. You guys are going to know more about Fist of the North Star than you probably ever have.
So look forward to that shit.
Because anyone who knows me knows that Fist of the North Star is like right up there as like my favorite anime ever. So, get hype. But other than that, that's about it.
Alright, so my channel's been pretty active despite our podcast hiatus. I have a full playthrough of Risk Factions, the campaign of that, which Dave was a part of. So if you like our shenanigans as a team, go check that shit out. It's pretty funny. I get really mad at that game.
I know the AI in that game is such a douche.
Yeah. I did complete DLC quest. I did do my first Borderlands 2 footage for a Valentine's Day special with a close friend of mine. We did Borderlands 2 Med Moxie and the Wedding Day Massacre Headhunter DLC, and that was pretty fun. It's only 3 parts, so if you look for something quick to watch, I would check that out. But as I stated earlier, I did complete The Last of Us Left Behind. That is also just in a short 6-video playlist. And I'm playing Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13. I'm 16 parts into that, and I'm struggling. But I'm gonna do it. I'm 18 parts, excuse me, 18 parts. That's not it though. There is actually a project that we started on my channel the other day on Twitch, and I've decided that my Pokemon footage is pretty popular. Between the Master Lock and Pokemon Obsidian that I did previously, I picked up another RPG Maker made Pokemon game, and that's going live now. Pokemon Omicron. It's really interesting. I like what they're doing with it. It's got a lot of attention to detail, and I really do like that. And I know they're not really custom games aren't a big cup of tea for Dave, but he still kind of helped me out with that project, doing commentary, helping me. Because I don't know a lot of the technical terms for Pokemon and whatnot, and he knows a lot more about Pokemon than I do, even though I enjoy it probably just as much. But that there was gonna
Pokemon's the
be
shit.
a live stream of that after this podcast, but that's up in the air because both of us have things to do now.
Yes.
But it is possible that
So,
it could happen today or over the weekend. It'd be just me solo though if it's over the weekend. But
yeah, we're getting kind of close actually. So, is there anything else? Yeah, actually, no. There is one more thing I want to mention, and I'm going to make this quick because I had to replace my PS3 and because I don't have the old save data. Saints Row the Third and One Piece Pirate Warriors are effectively canceled. Because I don't have the save data no more. So yeah.
sad face.
Um, I mean, there's only the couple of episodes that you could still upload if you wanted to, but other than that, there's going to be nothing new from that. So yeah. Uh, but that's all I have to say. I'm pretty much running out of time here, so there's nothing really else to talk about this week. So
Nope.
I guess with that, we'll wrap it. We'll wrap it up. I'm Dave,
And I'm Matt.
and we're the Superplex Brothers. And until next time, take care.